I'm 23, just out of college, working my first real job in a small Midwest town. You know the kind of place. One Walmart, two bars that everyone goes to, and gossip that spreads faster than the wind. A couple weeks ago, my coworker Jason, 28, asked me out. He's charming in that overconfident, I bench more than you weigh kind of way. I wasn't into him, but I also didn't know anyone in town yet, so when he suggested grabbing dinner, I thought, fine, what's the harm? We went to this semi-fancy steakhouse just off the highway. White tablecloths, the smell of sizzling meat, waiters in black aprons. The kind of place you don't go to unless it's payday. First, Jason was funny. Loud but funny. He ordered a bottle of wine I couldn't pronounce and 3 appetizers for the table, which was just us. I figured he was trying to impress me, but halfway through, the mask slipped. He started making little digs. You probably never had wine this expensive in college, huh? Or, man, you must have been a nerd in high school. Bet you didn't get asked to prom. I laughed it off, but inside, my stomach twisted. By dessert, I just wanted to go home. When the bill came, the waiter set down that little black folder. Jason didn't even touch it. He looked me dead in the eye and said, I'm gonna hit the bathroom. You got this, right? Then he winked, and just like that, he walked away. I sat there, stunned, my face burning. The total? $238.63. That was basically my grocery money for the month. I could feel the waiter's eyes on me. I wanted to cry, but instead I slid my debit card in, praying it wouldn't decline. Jason never came back. I waited 5 minutes, 10. Finally, I realized he'd left. I walked out into the cool night, the sound of trucks on the highway mixing with my pounding heartbeat. That's when I decided something. He thought he'd left me with the bill? No, he left me with a lesson, and I was going to make sure he paid 10 times over. I work in a mid-sized office, open-plan cubicles, fluorescent lighting, the whole corporate starter pack. And guess who swaggered in Monday morning like nothing had happened? Jason. Hey, he said, flashing that cocky grin. Fun night, right? I stared at him. You ditched me with a $240 bill. He laughed. Actually laughed. Ah, come on. You're not mad. Think of it as an investment. An investment in what? In me, he said, like it was the funniest thing in the world. Something in me snapped. My mom always told me, don't fight fire with fire. Fight it with paperwork. So I started small. Every time Jason bragged about working late, I made sure to casually mention it near our boss that I'd seen him leave early. When he forgot to finish his part of a project, I let the silence drag until management noticed. But the real chance came 2 weeks later. Our company reimburses travel expenses for client dinners. Jason, he loves padding those reports. One day, I saw him filing a claim for a dinner I knew never happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his voice. You got this, right? That smug little wink. The next morning, I printed copies of his bogus receipts and left them, anonymously, on HR's desk. 3 days later, the storm hit. Jason got called into the conference room. The blinds were closed, but I could see his silhouette pacing back and forth. Then came the raised voices. When he finally came out, his face was white as paper. He didn't look at anyone, just grabbed his jacket and left. At lunch, the whispers started. Fraud, suspension, termination. Nobody knew for sure, but everyone knew Jason was in trouble. And me? I sat there with my turkey sandwich, pretending not to listen, heart hammering in my chest. He'd stuck me with a $240 bill. But now he was about to pay with something bigger, his job. Jason didn't come back the next week. Or the week after. Word eventually trickled down. He'd been fired for expense fraud. They made him pay back over $2,000. $2,000. 10 times the bill he stuck me with. But the story doesn't end there. Last Friday, I stopped by that same steakhouse with a couple coworkers. As we were leaving, I saw him, Jason, sitting at the bar, hunched over a cheap beer. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled. He looked nothing like the cocky guy who once winked at me over a $200 tab. For a second, our eyes met. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Finally, he muttered, "You think you won, huh?" I froze. Then he leaned closer and whispered something I'll never forget. "You'll never beat me, because you cared enough to fight." I didn't. It wasn't angry. It wasn't defensive. It was hollow, almost sad, like he was admitting something about himself I hadn't considered. I walked out into the night air, my chest tight. I should have felt triumphant, but instead, I felt complicated. Because he was right, in a way. I did care. Enough to plot, enough to strike back. And maybe that meant I'd let him live rent-free in my head for longer than I should have. But then I remembered that bill. That smug wink. The way my card almost declined. And I decided, no. Caring doesn't make me weak. It makes me human. And making sure people like him face consequences, that's not pettiness. That's justice. Edit. Wow, didn't expect this to blow up. For those asking, no, I don't regret what I did. He burned his own bridge. I just made sure it collapsed faster. Would you have done the same in my shoes? Or do you think I went too far?